My name is George, but most people just call me Grandpa George. I'm 69 years old, and on a day that should have felt safe, the kind of day you believe family is still family, everything quietly shifted. We were sitting in the living room. No shouting, no warning. Then my daughter-in-law leaned forward, smiled, and said it like a simple question. Why do we need a poor old man? The room went silent. My son didn't stop her, didn't defend me. He just looked away. They thought I had nothing. No income, no leverage, no future. What they never knew was that I had been keeping one detail to myself for years, not out of shame, but out of choice. I stood up, packed my things, and walked out without explaining a single thing. Before I tell you what happened after I left, and how my silence triggered consequences none of them expected, let me ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop it in the comments. Your voices matter. To everyone who supports this channel and shares these stories, thank you. You remind people like me that being underestimated isn't the end. And if this is your first time here, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You're not just joining a channel. You're joining a family that understands silence can be power. Now listen closely, because the moment I walked out that door, they learned what poor really means. I moved into my son Aaron's house 3 years ago. Not because I had to, because he asked. Well, he said he asked. What he really said was, Dad, with Mom gone, you shouldn't be alone in that big house. Come stay with us for a while. For a while, that's what he said. Luna, that's his wife. She smiled when he said it. The kind of smile you give when your husband's already made the decision and you're just playing along. I saw it, but I told myself I was imagining things. That grief makes you paranoid. So I sold the house, the one Ruth and I bought in 1983. 4 bedrooms, a backyard with the oak tree we planted the year Aaron was born. I told Aaron I got a decent price. I didn't tell him how much. He didn't ask. I packed light, 1 suitcase, a box of Ruth's things, some clothes that didn't fit right anymore. When you lose your wife of 42 years, nothing fits right anymore. Aaron set me up in the guest room. It was nice enough. Beige walls, a bed that was too soft, a window that looked out at their fence. Luna had already cleared out the closet. I guess they'd been using it for storage. There were marks on the carpet where boxes used to sit. Make yourself at home, Dad, Aaron said. But I never did. Because within the first month, I realized something. I wasn't family anymore. I was a guest who'd overstayed his welcome. It started small. The kind of things you tell yourself don't mean anything. Luna would make dinner for 3, then look surprised when I came to the table. Oh, George, I didn't realize you were hungry. There's leftovers in the fridge. Aaron stopped asking about my day, stopped sitting with me in the evenings. He'd come home from work, kiss Luna, and disappear into his office. I'd hear them laughing behind closed doors. When I walked into a room, conversations would stop, not abruptly, just fade. Like I was a commercial break nobody wanted. I started eating breakfast before they woke up, dinner after they'd finished. I kept my things in the guest room and didn't leave anything in common spaces. I became invisible in a house that was supposed to be home. And here's the thing nobody tells you about getting old. People stop seeing you as a person. You become a problem to solve. One evening, about 6 months in, I overheard Luna on the phone in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to listen. I was just coming down for water. I don't know how much longer we can do this, she said. Her voice was low but sharp. He just sits there, all day, watching TV, not contributing. It's like having a child, except he's 70. I'm 69, but close enough. I stood there in the hallway, glass in hand, and something inside me went very still. Not angry, not hurt, curious. Because in that moment, I realized something. They thought I was broke. Aaron had asked me once, casually, while we were watching a game. Dad, your pension. It covers everything okay? I'd nodded, shrugged. It's enough. He didn't press, and I didn't elaborate, because I wanted to see something. I wanted to see who my son was when he thought I had nothing left to give. Ruth had made me promise right before she passed. We were in the hospice room, her hand cold in mine, and she looked at me with those sharp eyes that never missed a thing. "George," she whispered, "promise me something. Anything. Don't give Aaron everything right away. Make sure he loves you for you, not for what you can do for him." I'd promised, and when she died, I kept that promise. I stopped mentioning money, stopped dressing well, started buying my clothes at thrift stores. I let my hair grow out, gray and unkemmed. I shuffled a little when I walked, even though my knees were fine. I became the poor old man they expected to see. And, month by month, I watched my son's true character reveal itself. He stopped calling me Dad, started calling me George. He stopped including me in plans. "We're going to Napa this weekend, just the two of us. You'll be okay here, right?" He stopped looking me in the eye. "And Luna?" Luna stopped pretending. She'd sigh when I asked questions, roll her eyes when I took too long at the dinner table. She started talking about me in front of me, like I wasn't even there. "George, you left the hallway light on again. Do you know what electricity costs?" "George, can you keep the TV down? Some of us have work in the morning." "George, we're having people over Saturday. Maybe you could stay in your room?" I smiled, nodded, apologized, and I took notes. Because here's what Aaron and Luna didn't know. That modest pension I mentioned? It was real. $40,000 a year. Nothing impressive. But what I didn't mention was the 4 rental properties Ruth and I bought over 30 years. Paid off, generating $72,000 a year in income. I didn't mention the investment accounts, the ones we built slowly, carefully, through decades of living below our means. $780,000. I didn't mention the life insurance payout after Ruth died. $250,000. I wasn't poor. I was patient. And patience, I've learned, is the most expensive thing you can afford. Because when you're patient, you see the truth. And the truth was this. My son loved me when I was useful, and tolerated me when I wasn't. So I waited. I watched, and I planned. They had no idea what was coming. But before I tell you about the night everything changed, the night Luna said the words that made me walk out forever, I need to know you're with me. Because what happens next, it's going to make you question every family dinner you've ever sat through. Hit that subscribe button right now if you want to see how a poor old man becomes the most powerful person in the room without saying a single word. Drop a in the comments if you've ever been underestimated. And like this video if you believe respect should never have a price tag. The breaking point came on a Saturday in October. Aaron's brother Lemuel was visiting from Portland with his wife Lily and their daughter Naomi. She'd just turned 17. Bright kid, planning to study engineering. I hadn't seen them in almost a year. Luna insisted on hosting a family dinner. And by family dinner, I mean she wanted to perform. She spent all day cooking, which she never did. Normally we ordered in or Aaron grilled. But today was different. Today there were guests. Today she needed to prove something. She made roast chicken, garlic potatoes, some kind of kale salad that looked like it came from a magazine. The dining table was set with the good plates, the ones they'd gotten as wedding gifts and never used. I offered to help twice. Both times Luna waved me off. "I've got it, George. You just relax." So I sat in the living room, watching Naomi scroll through her phone, and felt like a piece of furniture. When everyone finally sat down for dinner, I took my usual seat at the end of the table. The corner spot. The one that's technically part of the table but somehow separate from the conversation. Lemuel sat across from me. He caught my eye and smiled. A real smile, the kind Aaron used to give me, and said, "Good to see you, Dad." Dad. I hadn't heard that word in months. "Good to see you too, son." Lily asked me how I'd been. I gave her the short version. "Oh, keeping busy, watching too much TV." She laughed. "Aren't we all?" But Luna cut in before I could respond. "George is very good at relaxing," she said, her voice light but her smile tight. "He's mastered it, really." Aaron didn't look up from his plate. The conversation moved on. Lemuel talked about his job. Something in tech I didn't fully understand but pretended to. Lily talked about Naomi's college applications. Luna talked about the new furniture they were thinking of buying for the living room. I stayed quiet, ate slowly, listened, and then, about halfway through the meal, it happened. Luna was refilling her wine glass when Aaron mentioned something about the property taxes coming due. He said it casually, like it was no big deal, but I saw the tension in his jaw. Luna set the bottle down harder than necessary. "Don't even start," she muttered. "I'm just saying," Aaron said, quieter now. "We need to figure it out." "We have figured it out," Luna snapped. "We're managing." "Barely." "Well, maybe if—" She stopped herself, glanced at me, then looked away. But I saw it. The resentment. Lemuel cleared his throat, trying to steer the conversation back. "So, Naomi, tell Uncle Aaron about the Stanford application." But Luna wasn't done. She leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and looked directly at Aaron. "You know what? No. Let's just say it." Aaron's eyes widened. "Luna." "We're struggling, Aaron. We're barely keeping up with bills. We've got property taxes, mortgage, insurance, car payments. And you know what we don't have?" She gestured vaguely toward the end of the table. Toward me. "Space." The word hung in the air like smoke. Naomi stared at her plate. Lily reached for Lemuel's hand under the table. Aaron looked like he wanted to disappear. And me? I set down my fork very carefully. Luna kept going. Her voice was louder now. Not shouting. Worse. Calm. "I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to be realistic. George has been here for 3 years. 3 years. And I've never once complained. But we're drowning, Aaron. And meanwhile, he's just—" She waved her hand again. "Here, taking up the guest room, eating our food, using our utilities, contributing nothing." "Luna, that's enough," Lemuel said, his voice low and sharp, but she turned to him, eyes blazing. "Is it? Because I don't see you offering to take him in." "That's not fair," Lily said quietly. "Fair?" Luna laughed, bitter and sharp. "You want to talk about fair? We've put our lives on hold for 3 years so Aaron's father wouldn't have to figure out his own situation. And for what? So he can sit on our couch and watch game shows all day?" I could feel Naomi staring at me. 17 years old, trying to understand why her aunt was talking about her grandfather like he was a stray dog. Aaron finally spoke. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Luna, please, not now." But Luna wasn't listening. She turned to him, leaning forward, and said the words I'd been waiting for. The words that made everything clear. "Aaron, why do we need a poor old man taking up space in our home?" The room went silent. Not the awkward silence from earlier. This was different. This was shock. Lily gasped. Lemuel's face went red. Naomi looked like she might cry. And Aaron looked at his plate. He didn't defend me. He didn't tell her to stop. He just sat there. I stood up slowly. My chair scraped against the floor, loud in the silence. Everyone turned to look at me. I didn't look angry. I didn't look hurt. I looked calm, because I was. "Excuse me," I said quietly. "I think I'll turn in early." Luna opened her mouth. Maybe to apologize, maybe to double down, I'll never know. But I was already walking away. I went to the guest room, closed the door, and I stood there in the dark, listening to the muffled voices downstairs. Lemuel's voice, raised. Lily's, softer. Luna, defensive. Aaron, silent. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I walked to the closet, pulled out my suitcase, and started packing. Not everything, just enough. Because here's what Luna didn't understand. I wasn't leaving because she hurt me. I was leaving because she'd finally shown me exactly who they were. And now it was time to show them who I was. I packed my clothes, my medications, the photo of Ruth I kept on the nightstand. I left everything else. At 4 in the morning, while they were all asleep, I walked out the front door with one suitcase and my dignity. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Simple. No explanation. You needed space. Now you have it. George. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I just walked to my car, the old sedan they probably thought was all I could afford, and drove away. They thought they were free. What they didn't know was that their freedom was about to cost them everything. I didn't go far that first night. Just a hotel off the interstate. One of those places with thin walls and a vending machine that hums too loud. I sat on the edge of the bed, suitcase still packed, and stared at my phone. 17 missed calls from Aaron by sunrise. I didn't answer a single one. Not because I was angry, because I was done. You want to know why I let them believe I was broke? Why I dressed in thrift store clothes and kept my mouth shut about money for 3 whole years? Let me take you back. Ruth died on a Tuesday. Pancreatic cancer. 4 months from diagnosis to goodbye. We thought we'd have more time. You always think you'll have more time. The day before she passed, she was lucid for about an hour. The hospice nurse said it happens sometimes. A final clarity before the end. Ruth grabbed my hand. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were sharp. "George," she whispered, "promise me something." "Anything, baby. Anything. Don't give Aaron everything right away." I blinked. "What?" "You heard me." She swallowed hard, her voice rattling. "We worked 42 years to build what we have. But Aaron, he's never had to struggle. Not really. And Luna—" She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Ruth had always seen through Luna. From the day Aaron brought her home, Ruth smiled and played nice. But later, in our bedroom, she'd said, "That girl loves what Aaron has, not who he is." I defended him back then, said Ruth was being overprotective. But Ruth was never wrong about people. "Make sure he loves you for you," she said, squeezing my hand. "Not for what you can give him. Test him, George, before it's too late." 2 days later, she was gone, and I kept my promise. At the funeral, Aaron cried. Luna stood beside him, elegant in black, her hand on his shoulder. People said what a devoted son he was, how lucky I was to have him. After the service, Aaron pulled me aside. "Dad, you shouldn't be alone. Come stay with us." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I made a decision. "Okay," I said, "but just until I figure things out." He nodded, relieved. "Of course. Take all the time you need." What he didn't ask was, "Figure what out, Dad?" Because he assumed I needed him. He assumed I was lost without Ruth, helpless, broke, and I let him assume it. Here's what Aaron never knew. Ruth and I bought our first rental property in 1987. A duplex in a neighborhood everyone said was up and coming. We scraped together the down payment, fixed it up ourselves, and rented it out. 10 years later, we bought another. Then another. By the time Ruth got sick, we owned 4 properties, all paid off, all generating income, $72,000 a year. We also had investment accounts. Nothing flashy. Index funds, bonds, the boring stuff that actually grows if you're patient. $780,000. And when Ruth died, her life insurance paid out, $250,000. Add in my pension, $40,000 a year, and Social Security. And you know what that makes me? Comfortable. Not rich, but secure. Independent. The kind of man who didn't need his son's guest room. But I wanted to see something. I wanted to see if Aaron would love me when I had nothing to give. So I stopped mentioning money. I sold our house, the one Aaron thought was mortgaged to the hilt, and told him I got enough to get by. I didn't say I cleared $340,000 after the sale. I started dressing plain, shopping at Goodwill, driving my old Oro 9 sedan instead of replacing it. I played the part, and month by month I watched my son's character reveal itself. At first, he was kind, considerate, but by month 6 I was an inconvenience. By year 2, I was invisible. By year 3, I was a burden. And Luna? Luna stopped pretending I was anything but a problem to solve. Now, sitting in that hotel room, scrolling through Aaron's frantic texts, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. Not the cruel kind. The quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing you hold every card and no one realizes you're even playing. I opened my contacts and called Stephen. Stephen was my lawyer, had been for 20 years. He answered on the second ring. "George, everything okay?" "It's time," I said. Silence. Then, "You sure?" "I'm sure. All of it. All of it." He exhaled. "Okay, I'll start the paperwork." Here's what Stephen knew that Aaron didn't. The house Aaron was living in, the one he thought he'd inherited from Ruth's brother who died in 2019, wasn't his uncle's. It was mine. I'd bought it from the estate. Quietly, through an LLC. Let Aaron believe it was a family inheritance, that he just had to cover property taxes and utilities. He'd been living in my house for 6 years, rent-free. And his business? That little consulting firm he was so proud of? The office space he leased at a family discount? My building. Aaron had spent 3 years calling me a burden. What he didn't know was that I'd been holding him up the entire time. And now it was time to let go. I spent the next 2 weeks looking for an apartment. Found a nice one-bedroom across town, hardwood floors, big windows, a balcony where I could drink my coffee in the mornings. I paid 6 months up front. Cash. Felt like freedom. Stephen handled the rest. The first letter went out on a Wednesday. George isn't just walking away. He's pulling the rug out from under them. And they have no idea it's coming. If you think Aaron and Luna are about to get exactly what they deserve, hit that subscribe button now, because the next chapter is where the bomb drops. Comment karma if you're ready to see their faces when they realize the truth. Like this video if you believe actions have consequences. And share this with anyone who's ever been called a burden by the people who should have loved them most. Aaron called me 37 times that week. I answered exactly once. It was a Thursday. I was sitting on my new balcony drinking coffee, watching the sunrise. The phone rang. I let it go to the 4th ring before I picked up. "Dad." His voice cracked. "Dad, please, we need to talk." "Hello, Aaron." Silence. I think he expected me to sound angry, hurt, broken. I sounded calm. "Dad, we got a letter from some property management company. They're saying we owe rent, backdated, for 3 years. This has to be a mistake." I took a sip of coffee. "Is that right?" "Dad, they're saying the house is owned by some LLC, Aurora Holdings. But that's Uncle Tom's house. He left it to me. This doesn't make any sense." "Aurora Holdings," I said slowly. "That's interesting. Do you know something about this?" I paused, let the silence stretch. "Aaron, do you know what Aurora means?" "What? No, It's Latin. It means dawn. Your mother's middle name." Another silence. Longer this time. "Ruth Aurora Miller," I continued. "She always loved that name. Said it meant new beginnings." I could hear him breathing on the other end, putting pieces together. "Dad, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that Aurora Holdings is an LLC I created 23 years ago. Your mother and I used it to purchase investment properties, including the house you're living in." That's not possible. Uncle Tom's estate sold the house. I bought it. I've owned it for 6 years, Aaron. You've been living in my house." The silence on the other end was so complete I thought the call had dropped. Then, "Why would you—" "The letter's not a mistake," I said quietly. The rent is due. $3,200 a month. Backdated 3 years. That's $115,200. Dad, we don't have that kind of money. I know. Then why are you doing this? I set my coffee down, leaned back in my chair. You want to know why, Aaron? Because 3 weeks ago your wife called me a poor old man. She asked why you needed me taking up space in your home. Your home. And you sat there and said nothing. Dad, I was going to... You were going to what? Defend me later? Privately? When it was convenient? I didn't know what to say. You could have said, don't talk about my father that way. My voice was still calm. Dangerously calm. You could have said, he's not a burden, he's my dad. I'm sorry. God, Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have... You have 30 days, I said, to pay or vacate. That's what the letter says. I suggest you read it carefully. Dad, please. We can't afford this. Luna just started a new job. We've got the car payments, the insurance. We're barely... That's not my problem anymore, Aaron. But it's your house. Exactly. It's my house, and you're done living in it for free. I heard him start to cry. Quiet, choked sobs. Part of me softened. The father part. The part that remembered teaching him to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to tie a tie before his first school dance. But another part. The part that sat invisible at dinner tables, that heard Luna's venom, that watched my son look away when I needed him most. That part stayed cold. There's more, I said. More? The office building, where you lease your workspace. Silence. That's mine too. The lease is terminated, effective immediately. Dad, that's my business. You'll need to find new space. I'm sure there are plenty of options. You're destroying me. No, I said quietly. I'm showing you what your life actually costs. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it off. That afternoon, I drove to Lemuel's house. He lived 40 minutes away, in a neighborhood with good schools and tree-lined streets. The kind of place you work your whole life to afford. He answered the door looking surprised. Dad, is everything okay? Can we talk? He stepped aside immediately. Of course. Come in. Lily was in the kitchen making sandwiches. Naomi was at the dining table, laptop open, working on homework. Grandpa George! Naomi jumped up and hugged me. I hugged her back and something in my chest loosened. Hey, kiddo. Lemuel gestured to the living room. You want coffee? Water? I'm fine. I just wanted to see you. We sat. Lily joined us, wiping her hands on a towel. We heard about Aaron, she said carefully. He called last night. Sounded upset. I nodded. I imagine he did. Dad, Lemuel said, leaning forward. What's going on? So I told them. Not everything, but enough. I told them about the properties, the LLC, the years of watching Aaron take me for granted. I told them about Luna's words at dinner, about Aaron's silence. I told them about the letters. When I finished, Lemuel sat back, exhaling slowly. Jesus, Dad. You think I'm being cruel, I said. No. He shook his head. I think you're being honest. Lily reached over and squeezed my hand. George, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Not even us. I know, but I wanted you to hear it from me. Lemuel looked at me for a long moment. How long have you been planning this? Since the day I moved in. 3 years? 3 years. He whistled low. That's a long time to play dead. I wasn't playing dead, I said quietly. I was waiting to see who'd check for a pulse. Naomi appeared in the doorway. Grandpa George, are you staying for dinner? I smiled. I'd like that. Later that evening, after spaghetti and garlic bread and Naomi's stories about her chemistry teacher who kept setting things on fire, Lemuel walked me to my car. Dad, he said quietly, Aaron's my brother. I love him. But what he did, what Luna said, I know. He deserves this. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. Lemuel had always been different from Aaron. Quieter, steadier, the kind of man who showed up when you needed him, not just when it was convenient. "You knew, didn't you?" I said. "About the money." He smiled slightly. "Mom told me. Before she died, she made me promise not to tell Aaron." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because it wasn't my story to tell. It was yours." He paused. "But I've been watching, and I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For not letting them break you." I nodded, throat tight. "There's something else," I said. "I set up a trust fund for Naomi. College tuition. All 4 years. Full ride." Lemuel's eyes widened. "Dad, you don't have to." "I want to. She's a good kid. She deserves it." He pulled me into a hug, the kind of hug I hadn't gotten from Aaron in 3 years. "Thank you," he whispered. I drove home to my new apartment, poured myself a bourbon, and sat on the balcony. My phone was still off, but I knew the storm I'd started was just beginning, and honestly, I'd never felt more at peace. 6 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Aaron directly, just through Stephen. "They're trying to negotiate," Stephen told me over the phone. "Aaron's lawyer sent a proposal. They want to pay monthly installments, $2,000 a month for the next 5 years. I was watering the plants on my balcony. New hobby. Turns out I'm good at keeping things alive when I'm not slowly dying inside. "What did you tell them?" "That I'd discuss it with you." "So, what do you want me to tell them?" I watched the water drip from the leaves. Thought about Ruth, about the 3 years I spent being invisible. Tell them no. "George, they have 30 days. That was the agreement. The deadline's in 2 weeks. Stephen sighed. "You know they'll have to sell. Probably at a loss in this market. Luna's car is being repossessed next week. Aaron's business is hanging by a thread." "I know. And you're okay with that?" I set down the watering can. "Stephen, let me ask you something. If your son looked you in the eye and did nothing while someone called you worthless, would you be okay with that?" Silence. "Exactly," I said. "They made their choice. Now they live with it." But here's what I didn't tell Stephen. I wasn't heartless. I was just done being their safety net. That afternoon, I got a visitor. Luna. I saw her through the peephole. She looked different. Thinner. No makeup. Hair pulled back. The expensive handbag she used to carry was gone. She was holding a grocery store tote instead. She knocked again. "George, please, I know you're in there. I saw your car." I opened the door. She looked up at me, and for the first time since I'd met her 8 years ago, I saw something real in her eyes. Fear. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside. My apartment was small but clean. She looked around like she was taking inventory, maybe calculating what everything cost. Old habits. "Nice place," she said. "It works." She stood awkwardly in the middle of my living room. I didn't offer her a seat. "I came to apologize," she said finally. "Okay." "That's it? Just okay?" "What do you want me to say, Luna?" She flinched. "I don't know. I thought you'd at least let me say it." "So, say it." She took a breath. Her hands were shaking. "I was wrong. What I said at dinner. It was cruel. Horrible. I don't know what I was thinking. I was stressed and scared and I took it out on you and I'm so sorry." I nodded. "Okay. That's it? What else is there?" "George, please. We're losing everything. The house, Aaron's office, my car got repossessed yesterday. We're drowning, and I know I caused this. I know. But please, have mercy." "Mercy," I repeated. "Yes, please, for Aaron's sake. He's your son." I looked at her for a long moment. "You're right," I said quietly. "He is my son, which is why this hurts so much." "Then help him." I did help him, for 6 years. I paid for his roof, subsidized his business, asked for nothing in return. And what did he do? He let you call me a poor old man and didn't say a word. He was scared. "Of you?" She stopped, looked down. Luna, do you know why I never told Aaron about the money? Because you're punishing him. No, because my wife asked me to test him, to see if he'd love me when I had nothing left to give. I paused. He failed. So that's it? You're just going to destroy his life. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just no longer holding it together. She started crying. Real tears. Ugly, desperate crying. Please, George, please. What do you want? An apology? You have it. Groveling? I'll grovel. Just tell me what you need me to do. I walked to the window, looked out at the city. I want you to understand something, I said. For 3 years, I watched you treat me like I was invisible, like I was a burden you were doing a favor by tolerating. And you know what the worst part was? She didn't answer. It wasn't what you said. It was that Aaron let you. My son, the boy I raised, the man I sacrificed for, looked the other way because it was easier than standing up to you. He loves you? No. I turned to face her. He loves what I can give him. There's a difference. So what now? You're just going to let us lose everything? We have nothing, George. Nothing. I studied her, really looked at her, and I made a decision. I'm going to give you a choice, I said. Hope flickered in her eyes. Anything. You can keep the house. Oh my God. Let me finish. You can keep the house. I'll forgive the back rent. I'll transfer the deed to Aaron outright. No strings. She was nodding frantically. Yes, yes. Thank you. But there's a condition. She froze. What condition? I handed her an envelope I'd prepared that morning. She opened it. Inside was a letter, handwritten. Read it, I said. She did. Her face went pale. You want Aaron to read this? Out loud? To the family? Every word. George, this is humiliating, painful? Yes, that's the point. The letter was simple. An apology. An acknowledgement of every slight, every dismissive comment, every moment he'd let me be treated as less than human, and a promise to do better. If he reads this, in front of Lemuel, Lily, and Naomi, and means it, the house is his. If he refuses, you're out in 2 weeks. Luna stared at the letter, then at me. You're a cruel man, she whispered. No, I said. I'm a father who wants to know if his son has any dignity left. She left without another word. I didn't know if she'd tell Aaron. Didn't know if he'd do it. But for the first time in 6 weeks, I felt something other than anger. I felt hope. Not hope that he'd pass the test. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd finally understand what he'd lost. George just gave Aaron one final chance. But will he take it? Or will pride destroy what's left of their relationship? This is it. The final chapter. The moment everything comes together. If you've been with me this whole journey, subscribe now, because you deserve to see how this ends. Comment forgiveness if you think Aaron should take the deal. Comment justice if you think George should let them fall. Like this video if you believe second chances have to be earned. The family dinner was Lemuel's idea. He called me 3 days after Luna's visit. Dad, Aaron wants to see you. Can we all meet? Neutral ground? Where? Our place, this Sunday. Just family. I almost said no, but something in Lemuel's voice stopped me. He's different, Dad, Lemuel said quietly. I think he's finally getting it. So I went. When I arrived, everyone was already there. Lemuel, Lily, Naomi, and Aaron. He looked terrible, thinner, dark circles under his eyes, hair unwashed. He stood when I walked in. Dad, he said. I nodded. Aaron. Awkward silence. Naomi broke it. Grandpa George, I made cookies. God bless that kid. We sat down. Luna wasn't there. I didn't ask. Aaron kept looking at me then away, like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Finally, Lemuel cleared his throat. Aaron has something he wants to say. Aaron pulled out the letter. My letter. He unfolded it with shaking hands. "I asked you all here because I need to do this right," Aaron said. His voice cracked. "Dad, I know you gave Luna this letter. I know what you want, and I'm going to read it. But first, I need to say something that's not in here." He looked at me. Really looked at me. "I failed you." The room went quiet. "For 3 years, I let you become invisible in my own home. I let Luna treat you like you were nothing. I told myself I'd handle it later, that I'd talk to her privately, that it wasn't the right time. But the truth is, I was a coward." Tears were streaming down his face now. "You raised me better than that. Mom raised me better than that. And I let you down when you needed me most." He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. And I'm not asking for the house or the money or any of it. I'm just asking for a chance to be your son again, the kind of son you deserve." Then he read the letter. Every word, the apology, the acknowledgement, the promise. When he finished, the room was silent except for Naomi quietly crying. I sat there looking at my son and felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a crack in the wall. "Luna?" I asked. "She's staying with her sister. We're taking some time apart." I nodded. "Good. Dad, I don't expect you to just—" "The house is yours," I said. His eyes widened. "What?" "The deed will be transferred next week. No rent, no conditions. It's yours." "Dad, I can't—" "Yes, you can. But understand this, Aaron. I'm not giving it to you because you apologized. I'm giving it to you because you need to learn to stand on your own, without me propping you up." "I don't understand." "You will." I stood. "But from now on, if you want a relationship with me, you have to earn it. No more assumptions. No more taking me for granted." "I will. I swear, Dad. I'll do whatever it takes." I looked at Lemuel, at Lily, at Naomi, who was smiling through her tears, then back at Aaron. "We'll see," I said. 3 months later, Aaron and I meet for coffee every Tuesday. We don't talk about the money. We don't talk about Luna. They're divorced now. We talk about small things. His work, my new woodworking hobby, the weather. It's not perfect. Some days I'm still angry. Some days he's still defensive. But we're trying, and that's more than we had before. Last week, Naomi got accepted to Stanford. Full ride from the trust fund. She called me crying with joy. Lemuel and Lily hosted a celebration dinner. Aaron was there. He shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, "Thank you for everything, Dad." I nodded. Later, as I was leaving, Aaron walked me to my car. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you think Mom would be proud of how I'm handling this?" I thought about Ruth, about her final words, about the test she asked me to give. "She'd be proud that you're trying," I said. "That's all she ever wanted." He nodded, blinking back tears. I drove home, poured myself a bourbon, and sat on my balcony. My phone buzzed. A text from Aaron. "Same time next Tuesday?" I smiled. "Same time," I replied. The city lights stretched out before me. Somewhere out there, Luna was probably telling her version of this story. How I was cruel, how I destroyed her marriage. Maybe she's right. Maybe I am cruel. But I'm also a father who refused to be invisible, who demanded respect instead of begging for it, who understood that sometimes love means letting someone fall so they can learn to stand. Ruth was right about one thing. Not everyone will love you for who you are, but the ones who do, they're worth everything. And as for Aaron, time will tell, but for now, the door is open, and that's enough. If this story moved you, made you think, or reminded you that dignity is never negotiable, subscribe, so you never miss stories that matter. Hit that like button if you believe respect is earned, not given. Share this video with anyone who's ever felt invisible, underestimated, or taken for granted, and drop a comment. What would you have done in George's position? Would you have forgiven Aaron? Let them lose everything? Walked away forever? Your voice matters here. Thank you for being part of this journey, for listening, for caring about stories that remind us what it means to be human. Remember, silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the most powerful statement you can make. See you in the next story. And until then, never let anyone make you feel invisible. You're worth more than that.